Welcome to the England point of view of the Diplostrats mystery diplomacy game of Doom. Now there wasn't that much Doom, spoiler alert, but there was a lot of mystery. So I'm going to focus mainly on what is relevant to me rather than the whole map, because Russia is going to make a video, I think, and also probably Diplostrats will make their own video. And then they can go through all of the more complicated strategy and cross-board stuff. I'm just going to focus on what's relevant to England, because that's, I think, the best way I can contribute. So you'll notice at the start of the game we have a normal diplomacy map without any province names on it. If you see my video drawing a diplomacy map from scratch, this is partly what inspired it, because there were no province names and I had to keep looking at the province names, because it turns out I do not know the province names of diplomacy. I played this game for way too long to not know the province names, but it's fine. So first of all, kind of cut off by this bottom bit, there's a blue player. What's the blue player? They're called the Oracle. And the Oracle, they just exist. We'll get to them later. Like throughout the video, I didn't mention much about the Oracle questions, but I thought, you know, I might as well show them because, yeah, it's funny to see. So here's the first turn, and then I just begin by asking normal questions. You can read them all if you want. They're not really that interesting. Where it gets funny is because basically some other players had asked some questions and they'd gotten basically genie responses. And if you don't know what that means, you'll find out what it means. Here I give them a very detailed, making sure every loophole is closed, like legal language and everything, and then they thumbs down it, which basically means they're not going to answer. So then I ask them again, this more simply, and then they refuse to answer. Then I ask them again, and they refuse to answer. So I ask them, assuming an army or blah, 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 I make sure I close a lot of loopholes, and then they refuse to answer. Okay, the armies in each level, what is the first number indicator of attack? But he refused to answer. So then I say, if an army level 2 enters a province, and then I forget to close the loophole about which maps, and then the Oracle jumps on the opportunity and just tells me it depends on the map, and then that is my question gone. This is why I hate the Oracle, and this is why the Oracle had to die. The win conditions were slightly different from normal diplomacy. There was one win condition where you had to get more than half the centers. And that's a standard, oh yeah, let's get 18, but the fact that it's phrased like get more than half rather than get 18 implies that there are going to be more supply centers than we see here. Second win condition was for the Oracle. Rather than a draw, if everybody agrees, then the Oracle wins. Third win condition was that if we killed the Oracle, everybody wins. And that was the win condition I wanted to go for, but I wasn't sure if everybody else wanted to go for it. So that was the initial thing. I thought, okay, for the start of the game, I'll play this like it's a normal diplomacy game and kind of play by ear to see if other people are on board. Now, pretty soon after the start of the game, Austria created a chat with everybody, all 7 players, because the Oracle doesn't count as a player, to talk about the Doritos, the little triangles on the board. The 1s and 0s were opposed to our 1-1s, which we didn't. What do these numbers mean? You might know because you've watched the other videos, but we didn't know. I mean, a lot of theories went around, most of them are irrelevant because most of them were wrong. So in the end, I just decided, look, I'm gonna go tap the English channel. So I asked France, are you okay with me tapping the English channel? And they said, yes, go for it. So I'm gonna attack the Dorito and see what happens. And I made a big announcement. And then other people slowly revealed their own plans for what they were gonna do with their Doritos. And there was a lot of confusion towards the end of the phase about these two. So let's just ignore them. Let's just pretend everything went to plan. Let's look at the normal diplomacy side of things. So I'm England. I don't have a good track record as England. I tend to fail quite fast. Obviously, the first thing you look at is what's your ally going to be in the France-Germany problem. And so I went to both of them, and as you do, I say, yeah, do you want to attack the other? Germany said, yeah, sure, let's attack France. And then France said, no. No, I don't want to attack Germany. Germany's my friend. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, why would you tell me that? I mean, okay, then I guess I'll just attack you then. And I don't remember what I was on with Russia. It was probably just standard, like I get Norway, you get Sweden, yada yada. Who cares? It's a 1901. Let's go to the moves. Oh, there we go. So I go and tap the Dorito, and we'll see what happens to that in a second. Austria does normal Austria? France. France does normal France stuff. Austria also does normal Austria stuff, to be fair. Italy gets their little Dorito and these guys just ignore it. But in the north, you see we have a northern opening from Russia and the fleet goes to Holland for Germany. So that is disaster. If you're playing England and you see these moves, it only ever means one thing. and that is that Russia and Germany are teaming up to kill you. Now, Germany said, oh, I just want to try a special move, you know, because it's a special game, I just thought let's do a weird opening. So, okay, fair, yeah, okay. Yeah, Germany, I believe you. And then Russia goes, because, okay, to be fair, with Russia, there was some justification. Because the Oracle, we were allowed to ask questions to the Oracle. And one of the questions Russia asked was, how many moves till you can reach one of my supply centers? To which the Oracle said 2. And by 2, Russia definitely inferred that it must have been St. Petersburg. Which is why, okay, this is why I didn't believe that. Because they said, oh, I went to St. Petersburg because I'm afraid the Oracle will attack me. And I was like, come on, I mean, what if the Oracle attacked Moscow, mate? Don't play me like this. So, at this point, I was basically screwed. But I had one trick up my sleeve. Because you'll see that in the retreat phase, the rockets retreated. Yeah, they're rockets, and they sent us to space. Now, at this point, only me and Italy could see space, which is very important for what comes to follow. Because I told Italy, look man, it's me and you up here. We have all the information and everybody wants to know what we have, you know, everybody wants to see our information. So I have a proposal. We can lie. And we can tell them we have death lasers, and we can tell them we can land on all of their provinces, and they wouldn't be able to tell truth apart from false. So Italy agreed, and they said, yeah, good idea. So I drafted up this map, where basically, I could claim I'm able to death strike all of these provinces, because Germany was attacking me, so I needed to death strike Germany, and I needed to death strike Russia. So I created this, and I said, look, I can death strike Germany, and I can death strike Russia from here, because, and I lie like my feet's like here or somewhere. And then we created a monster, or I created a monster. We'll see in a second if it wasn't like that's locked in, but okay. So I created a monster because sooner or later, like somebody, like space was the cool and interesting thing, and if we start telling everyone we got death lasers who could dominate the board, other people want to come up too. So we needed a reason for them not to, so I created the monster. And the monster was going to be some spooky, scary reason why they shouldn't come up. Now, the monster idea never really went anywhere because I realized, okay, for the monster to be scary, something bad needs to happen to me, and you know, I don't really want something bad to happen. It's a whole thing. I was like, maybe through the monster, the Oracle will control our units and I can make my... No, okay, but I didn't do any of that. What I did do was lie to Germany and tell them, look man, I can death strike Kiel, so I'm going to go into Kiel and land in Kiel, so you should stay in Kiel. And I lied to Russia and I said, I'm going to support myself into Norway, there's nothing you can do, so you should pretend to be friends with me, because I could technically strike St. Petersburg too. And you don't want to be fighting someone who can just from the sky death strike St. Petersburg, right? That's not someone you want to fight. So pretend to be my friend and let me into Norway, because I'm supporting myself anyway, so there's nothing you can do anyway, so just pretend to be my friend. It's basically the pitch I gave, and to everyone else, I was a bit vague, because Italy didn't really want to play along, because something about after when somebody goes into space, it would all be revealed that we'd been lying to everyone the whole game. Yada yada, it's coward. Italy was a coward. I'm sorry, but it was a bit of a, like, come on. They just wanted to be vague about it, so I was like, okay, fine. As long as you don't snitch on me. And to their credit, they didn't snitch on me. In the end, it worked. I don't know if it worked or if Russia was never going to attack me in the first place, but it worked. I got it. I got it to Norway unopposed, which gave me a build, at least. So I wasn't safe yet, because there was a little bit of trickery here with Russia going to Finland, because Russia was like, I'm going to go to Finland. I said, why would you need to go to Finland? And then Russia was, I want to go to Finland. And then I was like, no, don't go to Finland. And then Russia was like, okay, fine, I won't go to Finland if you tell me not to go to Finland. But the phase was ending at that turn, so I didn't have time to tell them, do not go to Finland for the third time. And then they went to Finland, and I was like, okay, Russia, you gotta attack me, man. Like, don't, what is all this pretending? So I needed to figure out something here. So anyway, I did get into Norway though, so at least that worked out in my favor. Russia was going into space, so the bit was up. The lie was falling flat on its face, so I came clean to Russia, and I told them why I lied to them, and they seemed to understand. So it all worked out in the end. Anyway, in the more mystery, not diplomacy side of things, in space, I wanted to be able to attack both the French and German. We came to call them satellites. I call them spaceships or something, but in retrospect, I don't know why I ever call them spaceships. They're obviously satellites. But okay, I was going to attack one of their satellites, so I moved here, but the satellites moved. They moved, and I saw pretty quickly, okay, 0, 1, y-axis goes up 1, they're going to go up here, -1, -1, x, you know, coordinates and such. But yeah, that was a bit of a problem, because this spaceship is going up, and I am stuck here. And I saw that I kept the momentum from the previous thing. I didn't quite put together what that meant. But I thought basically, okay, if I do nothing, then this is what happens. I couldn't get the German satellite now, so I'd lost that leverage, and now my information leverage was dying in real time because Russia was joining. My information advantage is gone. Now this Russian fleet was going there, so maybe I could do something with it, but that was a later problem. That was a problem for the future, and the future was not now. For the builds, I mean, obviously I built a fleet because I'm dying. I mean, I wish I could build an army, but I mean, an army would be useless. I also convoyed an army here, which Russia wasn't very happy with, to be fair. I mean, and fair enough to them. The Oracle units in the bottom had been doing all kinds of weird orders, and last turn they did a drill order. So, going into spring, I was going to drill in Norway, because look, I'm not holding on to Norway. Germany is attacking here. They cut this, Russia attacks here, like, I'm dead. There's nothing I can do. So I decided, okay, you know, I'm gonna lose Norway, but maybe I can drill, and maybe that actually gives them a reason to keep me in Norway, just for this turn, to see what happens. Because everybody wants to know what the cool new order in town does. So I told Josh, I'm gonna drill in Norway, so I didn't tell them specifically, but like, if you wanna attack me, at least attack me next turn after I drill, so that you can find out what drilling does, okay? Is the strategy I was employing. Base, I tried to go up here because I thought, okay, you know, I'm gonna be here. I can't really get the German thing, but at least I'll be in position to then next turn get the Russian thing. But problem, that's not how it works, because I moved up and to the left, and so my velocity added up, and you can see on the next turn my velocity ended up like this. So that didn't really work out, but it's fine, because Earth did work out, because I got Russia to help me kill Germany, and also France finally agreed to help me kill Germany. Austria also agreed to help me kill Germany, but I think they were a bit distracted, and so they didn't actually end up doing anything. But they were on board in spirit, and that's all I needed. So yeah, we got a massive attack happening on Germany. If you want specifics about tactics, just look. But yeah, also, these guys also drilled, so they also ended up on the harvest map, or the underground map, however you want to call it. So the first thing we noticed in the underground map was the blues and the greens and these guys. Now we asked a couple questions to the Oracle about what do they do, and you might have noticed me not talking about the Oracle much about the questions, because the Oracle was a genie, man. None of the like, we asked them a question and they just not answer the questions properly. And we give, at least for me, I'd be so careful, specify every edge case, like legal style, this, that, and then I get lazy, and then because they can thumbs down to not answer questions, so they kept thumbs downing me, and then I get lazy and then I ask a bad question, and then they pounce on the opportunity to answer it, because we got limited questions per turn. The Oracle just kind of, like, yeah, okay, they weren't that useful, to be fair. Like, I mean, they were a little bit useful. At points they were useful, but I'd say 99% of the Oracle business was not useful. Okay, so let me first look at the analysis on this board. What was I thinking going in? So I was up here and the German guy was down here. Now I was attacking the German guy on the main map, so the German guy wasn't my friend. But I couldn't do anything, because all of the supply centers which would help me were covered by these guys who would block it. So I went to Germany and I said, look man, I know we're fighting, but everybody else is fighting you too now. So between me and you, I can help. I can help you survive. All you need to do is spawn me into Skagerrak. And then Germany said, yes, I agree to that, help me. And then I said, yeah, I'll help you. And then I never helped them because other things happened. Because in the end I decided, you know what, this must be a valuable province, because that was the key specification of where you could drill. It had to be a valuable province, and I was like, okay, come on, these are like ores. Okay, so this is a valuable province, I'm going to drill on the valuable province, rather than take a sport into here, which might not even happen, because Germany could easily be lying to me. So instead I was like, Germany, go down to this thing, this weird object in the map, what does it do, what happens if you walk into it, go test that out. And I think probably other people were also telling them to test it out, so they tested it out. Yeah, I drilled here, they went down, and they also went to their nearest place where they could drill. The attack on Germany was going well. Russia tried to go into Kiel and into Berlin. Now this was another thing which got me worried, because okay, Russia, why go into Kiel, man? You got these two provinces. Okay, fine, you do what you want to do. It bounced, so it didn't really matter in the end. I take Holland, and France takes Belgium. I tried to move 2 to the right. Actually, I told Austria I would do this, and then Austria told me that's not possible. Go kill Italy instead, because Italy's killing me or something. I don't know what's happening with Italy. But they hadn't snitched on me during the previous turn when I was lying to everyone. And so I was like, okay, you know, Italy is kind of my friend. Like, yeah, I'm not going to attack Italy. And I also kind of thought, to be honest, I thought Austria was lying because they wanted me to attack Italy. And that was the clear motivation for them to tell me not to do this, because they wanted this satellite and they wanted me to kill Italy. And I wasn't about to be playing those games, so I thought he was lying, and I basically ignored him. I pretended to be AFK for the rest of the round, so that I didn't have to tell him that I thought he was lying. And then I would just do the order anyway. And so, because the advantage to doing this, rather than telling him I thought I was lying, was that when the phase goes through and everything resolves, and if he was telling the truth, then I had the plausible deniability there. That's, okay, oh, I would have believed you if only I saw the message. I did see the message, I didn't believe him. Italy gets their satellite. Yeah, so I collected this, and then my little number went up. I'm now 1-2 instead of 1-1. So I thought I was powerful and strong. Great, I had the same numbers as these guys. I learned later this meant defense, and so it's actually kind of useless, but it's fine. Number goes up, and who doesn't like number going up? Winter, I built another fleet because, well, I also wanted some deterrence for France here in case they wanted to come up, because I really hate York as England, so I needed some form of deterrence. Without building in York explicitly, because that might make France attack me, right? And at this point, when I saw these moves, this is clearly an Austria-Italy alliance. Okay, Austria and Italy are working together, so then why the hell did he tell me to try and sabotage Italy up in space? So I thought there was a little bit of trickery going on here, and this made me distrust Austria, which becomes important later. But I saw things like this, and I thought, okay, Austria is not working for the team. They're pretending to work for the team, but they're not working for the team. Spring 1903 orders, because I don't think anything interesting happened in the press. So in the harvest map, I just kind of went to the nearest colored thing to drill. Everybody else did the same. Russia drilled here, yada yada. Germany, I supported France up into Belgium. They didn't really need my support, but you know, who cares? I gave them my support. Germany covers Munich, but nobody's in Munich. They're going for Berlin instead. We had this barrier. Because of the drilled provinces, they disappeared, which wound up working in our favor here because it really took away a lot of the tension between me and Russia. But just them going to Kiel, I was like, okay, what are you doing here, Russia? They were advancing way too far. I wasn't that suspicious because, I mean, it is the only province they can get, and it's just natural to want dots. It was a problem I was looking at. In space, I tried to go back, and then I went forward instead one, because I wanted to get on this, like, there's a rocket and there's an empty satellite, and I wanted to see what happened if I got on a rocket in space. Because maybe I teleported back on Earth into Black Sea. And I'm sure the Black Sea never becomes relevant again. Yeah, false starts, nothing interesting in the map. At this point, you might notice this middle map, the Earth map, has a black border around it. It was a little bit of a conversation before, but nothing really came of it. But now we thought there's a way, because we asked the Oracle, and then the Oracle was useless. They were like, there's a way to figure it out. And then we were like, okay, thank you, Oracle. And then we were like, okay, so what's the way to figure it out? We probably just need to dislodge somebody, and then they end up in the Black Void. Because Captain Beam listed the retreat orders on their little orders log channel on the Discord server. It would list out all the provinces, and it would list out what this province is called. Plan was that I would get a build in York. I would move up here to this province, Norwegian Sea. France would come up here, and then I would dislodge them, and then they would end up in the abyss. Which, conveniently enough, also solved this problem, because I wasn't getting a build anywhere else. Like, literally impossible. I guess, technically, he could have spawned me in here, because we weren't 100% on whether this was defense or not. But in the end, we decided I would just get Kiel. And that worked out well for me. Two birds, one stone. That's how you say those words. Also, over here, I wanted to just go down, so I was going to go down to collect the rockets and satellites, maybe. I didn't know what was going to happen. And what happened was I got a concussion. From here on out, my space game is terrible. Like, before there were excuses. We didn't know what was going on. There was a little bit of confusion. But now we knew basically all the rules about space. And I think my astrologist got a bit of a concussion here. Okay, that's the canon event that happened. I got into Kiel, Russia went down into Munich, and we thought, okay, Germany's done here because they can't retreat. It's a full turn. Like, good game, Germany. You're not on Earth anymore. I think they were still technically alive here, but it was only a matter of time. And I think this is when Italy dodged me in space, and I'm like, come on, Italy, man. I thought we were friends. But Also, I didn't say anything because by the time I figured out what was going on, I'd gotten this center anyway. So I stayed equal, and I was like, do I really want to fight Italy over this? And they also drilled here, so they didn't build themselves. So now I didn't see this at the time. Germany was able to retreat into Switzerland, and there were 4 provinces in Switzerland. 1, 2, 3, 4. He did, I think, 2. It doesn't matter. He went to Switzerland. So in Switzerland, it turns out there's this whole mess. And you might notice now it becomes relevant that the province names are not on the map, because this does not map to this. Now, I kind of looked at this and thought this kind of looks like Scotland. I don't think anything ever came of it because everything else looked different. I kind of saw this and I was trying to match everything else, and I thought this province kind of looks like Wales, but then I thought that's a bit of a stretch, and nothing else stood out to me. So now at this point, I didn't really want to build a fleet because everything was kind of settled here. I trusted everyone around me, but I mean, I had to build a fleet because I had to kick France out. The problem with building a fleet, though, is that I had because only armies could be in the underground map. And at this point, I couldn't do anything in the underground. So I was kind of falling behind there. Because I didn't want to build an army and then just go back on this whole thing. Especially since he was next to York, right? Imagine if I built an army here to go to the underground. I'd just lose York. So I built a fleet here. Kick France out and see what the Black Border province is called. So that's what I do. I spot them out. They get OTB off the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8? I don't think there was a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, I got good memory. Austria joins in the little Switzerland party, so does Russia. And they actually dislodge Germany out here so that we can discover what these province names are called. And Germany transforms into a fleet. That was another move, by the way, which York showed us at the start. You can transform on high coast tiles, and it turns out the blacks are the high coast tiles. I was also really pushing Turkey to drill in the Black Sea because I figured, look, the Oracle doesn't exist, and they told us, like Germany, I think, told everyone, the Oracle doesn't exist here either. So there was one more thing to try. Technically, I guess nobody ever tried drilling in space. Did somebody try drilling in space? I don't remember, but certainly nothing came of it if they did. Down in the harvest map, you see there's a lot of arrows pointing to this province, and I was just basically just us testing a bunch of stuff, like, could we go there? Because somebody at some point had the theory, and maybe the Oracle was useful for somebody else. I don't know how the theory came about. I just saw, guys, can you order to TSD? TS something? And I was like, yeah, sure. I got nothing better to do. So I did that. Also, yeah, in space, nothing useful happened. I did the fake order. Over here, I tried to move my fleet into Denmark just to see what happens. Could I get a fleet down there? No. Failed. France retreats into... By the way, it's called the Absence. They retreat into the Absence. Same thing kind of happened down here, where Italy went into OTB, whatever number. I don't remember what number they chose. There were like 8 of them. I said it correctly earlier. I don't know why I went wrong here. I figured this was the last map. Wherever Turkey ended up in the Black Sea, it would be the final map. So here, Turkey finally drills. And then I was excited to see what would happen. Because I was also going to drill in this province. That was the whole thing. I was like, Italy spawn me into here and then I'll drill here. Over here, I supported Turkey into the Italian OTB unit, which could then see all these tiles, and so they retreated somewhere. I think they retreated to the supply center conveniently enough. And by now, Italy had been replaced by another player. And they had figured out how the Absence was named. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I ever figured it out myself. Now, they gave a whole good explanation. I'm sure the explanation was great. It was just never relevant to me, so I never read it. So I never understood how this worked. But I think other people figured it out. So I mean, I was way behind anyway. This wasn't going to be my map, okay? Because everybody else was there before me. And the White Voids. Now, Turkey fell through the Absence, and I think they got brainwashed. I'll tell you why I think they got brainwashed later. But they fell through the Absence. Not the Absence, the Anomaly. They fell through the Anomaly, and then ended up in the Black Sea. And I hear this caused a lot of problems for the Russia-Turkey relationship, and I think also Austria was somehow involved, I don't know. That was their problem. My problem was, okay, where am I going to get my next supply center from? I mean, I got it from here, and at this point I was like, there's no point drilling now, because I'll just end up, like, here. And I asked the Oracle to confirm it, and the Oracle confirmed it, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm like, what's the point? What is the point? What is the point? What's the point, you might say? In space, I haven't looked at space for a while, because nothing ever happens. I mean, these guys, Turkey and Austria, were just kind of dotting everyone. And, I mean, Austria was playing smart, okay? They were dotting the people nobody cared about. But Turkey was dotting the people cared about and who were helping us. So, some eyebrows are starting to be raised about Turkey's actions here, to say the least. I built an army here, which would go into this special new map. And specifically, I had my eyes after this province, because Okay, so drilling here was useless because we just ended up on Earth. Like, who cares? Who cares? So this was the last option. If we drilled here, then we'd find the Orca unit, surely, right? And I was pushing for Russia, Austria to also drill. Because I kind of figured that this would be the final boss fight, right? So I wanted as many people down as possible. But only Russia wanted to go down there for some reason, but okay. Plan goes down as expected. I get into this province. I think it was called AGL, I can't remember. Russia gets into this province, which they want to drill. Everybody else does their little moves. They want to fight for this unclaimed land. There was actually this grand plan, okay? Me and Russia were going to split up the north. I was going to go into the North Sea, and then Russia would walk through the North Sea into here, and then I was going to drop down into Norway with the new army I built and spot them into everything else. Problem, because it turned out that this too was actually defense and had nothing to do with attack. Like, it was the most useless number in the game. You do not understand. Maybe if we were fighting each other it would become useful, but it was a useless number, okay? But at this point we thought it meant strength. So in my head I was like, okay, it'll work because he's got the same numbers as this other guy. But it's fine, it didn't happen, but it was the plan that was gonna happen. In space, nothing happened. Nothing ever happens in space. I mean, everything happens in space, but nobody cares. I didn't care. Maybe other people cared. Certainly other people cared, actually. But it's fine. Fall 1905. What happened in fall 1905? Russia stabbed Turkey, I think? Because it's such a weird thing to have caused such a major crisis, but okay. I think that's what happened now. I'm very confused. Because apparently what was meant to happen here was Russia was meant to support them in, but I think they were meant to put them in with this unit, which had left. And so Turkey came to me, and at this turn, now we're here, was just telling me, man, like, come on, Russia has stabbed me. Russia has stabbed me. And I looked at the underground map and I was like, how did Russia stab you? And it was like, he started contained me. He left this place. And I was like, okay, you know what? Fair enough. Like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Russia stabbed you. But also, Turkey was dotting people, so I was like, okay, Turkey, man, you're like Russia in real life, okay? You're just nudging at the edges trying to see what snaps, and you wanted to snap and kill Russia so you can gain a lot of centers here. So that's kind of what I thought was going on, so I decided the lesser of the two evils was Russia. I mean, yeah, okay, you stabbed Turkey, but Turkey, you've been dotting everyone. I don't care if somebody stabbed you, like... It's a bit harsh to say it like this, but that's what I was thinking, and so I want to be honest with what I was thinking. So I basically just snitched on Turkey, and I told Russia, like... Because also at this point I was like, Russia's a good friend. Russia's a good friend, so let me just tell Russia what's going on with Turkey. And I was actually pushing a bit for a coalition. I was also talking to Austria, who had been dotted earlier in space about it, and they seemed kind of on board. But I was also too far away to do anything, and it kind of fizzled out. So yeah, fall 1905, I drilled, he drilled. France walked into Munich, and this is basically what caused the Turkey thing to fizzle out. Because what France had just done was blatant. Now, there was a bit of leeway in the spaceport, I think, where people were like, who cares? But over here, when you take Munich from a player like Russia, who I think everybody saw Russia as their #1 ally, it was a bit of a mistake, you might say. And so, there was a little bit of reaction to that. Russia spawned me into North Sea Underground Edition. That was all worked out. We still thought we were doing a plan here. Nothing else interesting happened. Oh wait, actually technically this is relevant for later. Russia, from the blue satellite, now I'm calling it the blue satellite despite it being red because it's the blue home center, went down to this and failed, not because they weren't allowed to, but because they had a negative velocity here. I think that also sparked a lot of thing about how you needed to have this same velocity as the satellite. Now that's probably more relevant when you watch the Captain Moon video about the grand plan, the grand strategy. But I'm here to tell you that the grand strategy on the surface seemed like it was going well, but there were cracks forming underneath, and this is the point of why I'm making this video. Because a lot of this happened in press, I don't know if the Diplostrats video captured it. But maybe they did, I don't know when this video will come out. Maybe it's already come out by the time Diplostrats video came out, I don't know. Because there's also the no build thing, so I don't know which I'm going to release first. So maybe this one, maybe nobody cares. Maybe I should just continue commentating the game. Yeah, so we drill, and you want to see what happens when we drill, I guess. I guess that's the reason you're still watching, maybe? Or maybe you're just watching because you watch me slowly go insane commentating this game. Oh, also, they bounce over the anomaly. That's funny. Okay, enough stalling. Let's go. This new map. Okay, you want to see what's in the new map? Well, there's this. there's this happening. There's nothing in the new map. I dedicated a whole army to being here, and now my army's just stuck. And this unit has 50 defense. We're never gonna get through. Like, what's the point? My army's just stuck, man. It's just stuck. There's nothing I can do. So anyway, it's fine because France broke the kind of agreement of nobody kill each other by taking this dot. And so there was a coalition. And basically everyone in the game was on board in this coalition. So, the next turn, it's winter. Winter. What happened in winter? Oh yeah, I built an army because I was going to go to Underground Norway Edition. But then I think Russia figured out that it was actually not going to work. And I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, that doesn't work, does it? So then I was just like, okay, because the whole point was that me and Russia get sent, so like, okay, because it's kind of my fault, I was like, okay, Russia, just take the Underground North Sea Edition and then I'll figure it out. Because I get another build from somewhere. Because I was going to get the build from Belgium, so it made it up, so I was like, okay, Russia, just take North Sea. I don't think they did end up taking North Sea, because we figured out something else. Turns out, Russia wasn't actually a bad guy. Now, at the start of the game, Russia was the bad guy, but as the game progressed, it turned out Russia was in it for the joint win condition. So 1906 orders. So I kind of come back to Earth, kill France, because also France built this fleet. So I thought they were going to attack me. Turns out they weren't actually. I don't know what their plan was. Maybe they'll make a video on it. I don't know. Maybe we need the France POV, because that's a POV I want. I want the France POV. Part of the reason the coalition around France happened so fast is because there were a lot of people concerned about these French units. Now, in my mind, they were just like getting the new supply centers, because it was just kind of a race. So I didn't really see that big of a problem, but everybody else did, and so you know what? Fair enough. If that helps you kill France, then it helps you kill France. I don't care why. I just care that you do. Fall. Nothing interesting happened in fall. Russia was going to walk on. I was going to drill this. In space, and nothing ever happens in space. I don't know why I keep looking there. Over here, we were just going to test random things, see what happened, throw stuff at the wall. My kind of sub-mission was to find a way out. And I'm not even in this map, so it's not relevant to this commentary, but I'm sure a lot of interesting stuff happened here. That's for the other videos. For the Russia video, if it's out by the time I release this, I'll send you a link. Same for the Diplostrats video. I'll put a link in the description if those videos are out. If they're not out, then, I mean, subscribe to their channels. ThirdMunky and Diplostrats. And then you'll get the videos when they release. And I'll also put it in the description. So if you watch this like after they release, I don't know why I'm explaining this so much. It's just if the links are not there, then the videos are not being released. If they're there, then they have been released. Anyway, all that to say, nothing ever happens. 1906. Yeah, nothing. I don't know why I'm looking here. I don't know what's going on here. Actually, you know what? This will be fun. From now on, I'll just theorize what happened in the absence, what the diplomacy was there, and then I can find out if I was correct. I'll do that last, because that's the interesting thing. Over here, I support hold this guy, he tries to transform, and they both succeed. So that means that all of these provinces are connected. I mean, technically we don't know that, but also technically we do know that, because, like, why would this interaction be different to this interaction? So all these provinces are adjacent, is basically what we got from that. Russia walks on, I dig this, get my 3 strength, so now I don't need anyone's help, I can just get every supply center myself. In space, I go here. I don't remember why I go here. And sometimes a mystery will never be solved. On Earth, now this is what matters. I support hold myself in Belgium and kill because funny. I go to the English Channel and Italy attacks France and Austria comes in and takes Munich, attacking France. I'm sure Austria was also happy they got a free supply center from which was technically Russia. They also get attacked in the absence. Now let's theorize what happened in the absence. So France comes over here. Now everybody's fighting France, so I don't think anybody agreed to this. This was probably agreed to. Russia getting... Actually, that's probably what happened here. They were like, okay, I'm taking Munich, which is yours, and that's why I'm supporting you to this province, because then you get made up for losing the Munich earlier. Russia also takes this. I mean, they're just dotting, aren't they? I don't think there's any in-depth strategic analysis. They're all just dotting each other. Why did this move happen? I couldn't tell you. Well, Turkey, tell us, why did you do this? Fall, when does it get interesting? I think it gets interesting here. Yes, this is where it gets interesting. Austria builds 3 units. In the meantime, they are positioning themselves in every map to be adjacent to as many supply centers as they can. Like over here, they're bordering this, and pretty soon they're going to be bordering the Underground North Sea as well, coming up to take this. And at this point I was, because if you remember from the start of the game, when Austria tried to get me to stab Italy, and throughout all this, Austria has been the main proponent. Like, they opened the chat and everything, but I was like, okay, man, Austria, you're pretending. You're pretending. Like, this is clearly a solo attempt. I didn't say anything at this stage, because I didn't think there was enough evidence. Turkey more than made up for the lack of evidence. Because, at some points, I don't know if it happened now. I think it happened a little bit later than this. But for the sake of not just running through 100 years when nothing interesting happens, I'm going to pretend it happened now. Turkey opened up a group chat, basically. Actually, no, I need to say this later because it affects the moves on the boards. Yeah, okay, never mind. That didn't happen. Spoilers. Spring. Yeah, what happened in spring? We continue to attack France. Italy does a little pro move where they tell me they're going to spawn me into the Mid-Atlantic. But instead they spawned themselves into the Mid-Atlantic. And I was like, okay, what's happening here? Is Italy trying to get something off on me? I don't know. Because the plan was I would get in and spawn myself into Brest, and then Italy would get into here for free. Ah, okay, what might have happened was Italy saw that if I was in here, I would just spawn myself in. And then they wouldn't be able to guarantee themselves Spain. So maybe that's what happened. They decided to put themselves in there so that they could give themselves Spain. Ah, fair enough. You know, can't see the fault of that. Yeah, okay. So at the start of the phase, I told Italy, hey, do you want to spawn into Burgundy? And then they proceeded to not reply to me for a prolonged period of time. And then Austria came to me and said, hey, can you spawn me into Burgundy? And at that point, I mean, I had no like excuse to say no, because I wanted to kill France more than I wanted to contain Austria, if that makes sense. So I told them, yeah, okay, I'll support you in. Then Italy gets back to me and they say, yeah, I'll take support in Burgundy. And now I've been in a bind, because I've just told Austria I will support them in. But I mean, deep down, I wanted to support Italy in. I didn't want to support Austria. You're growing too much. You're going to kill everyone, is what was happening in my mind. I told Austria that, okay, I'm supporting Italy in, actually. They asked me to. I mean, it was kind of a half-truth, because they didn't technically ask me to, and I think that's what pissed Austria off, because they went to check with Italy, and then Italy told them. I offered it to them. I think Austria was a bit disgruntled that I took their spot over it. All that to say, it didn't matter. Yeah, they just drilled in Paris, so the whole thing about who gets Paris was kind of useless. Also, I guess I should say, because there was the plan to win the game, because basically Turkey was going to accelerate this unit up to like 50, 60 attack power, more than 50, so yeah, 60 attack power. By doing all these, they had this whole great plan figured out. The plan didn't involve any of my units, so the extent to which I looked into it was, am I getting in the way of this plan? No? Okay, you do what you do. I'll just stay in this little corner of space. Over here, Russia taps this just to confirm that they can. I think I tried walking up or supporting something up here, but I couldn't escape. I was stuck. Now, on the surface, everything was going good. Everybody was in agreement. But underneath, there was a lot of tension brewing, because Austria was going fast. They were getting in a position where they basically boarded both of my empty centers, nothing I could do about it. In this map, they were doing the same kind of thing, like this unit could go here and then they'd take all of these provinces, and they were also, I think, setting up some fleets in the next turn. There was a little bit of concern about, is Austria going to go for a solo run here? But the moves weren't anything that special. I'd take Brest, they did spawn me into here and then they got Spain. Over here, Italy tried to go there, but they bounced. Okay, they turned into fleets here. Over here, nothing ever happens. Over here, nothing ever happens, except, I mean, Turkey is continuing to do the plan, which is great. At this point, Turkey was also doing their own little suspicious stuff. Nobody was 100% sure if, when the time came, because there was a lot of debate about what had happened. But why was the map called Decision? The map was called Decision. I don't think I said that. It's fine. It's called Decision, you know now. And so there was a lot of thing about what's going to happen, what's the decision going to be when Turkey lands on here. And there was a lot of talk about it being Turkey turned into the Oracle. Now, I didn't really believe that. I thought the decision would be something else, but also I didn't want to say too much because I thought Turkey deep down wanted to become the Oracle. So let's let that theory exist, okay? Let Turkey think they're going to become the Oracle, because then they'll actually follow through on the plan. But again, you couldn't be 100% sure, so I'd rather Russia be here at the end than Turkey, so there was a plan forming to support Russia in when Turkey inevitably ends up here. Austria's getting a lot of supply centers in Harvest and across the map. Like here as well, they're getting this supply center. I got nothing better to do, so I just spot hold and let's go. Yeah, I built an army and a fleet with the plan to just kind of back myself up here, because at this point I was sure Austria was going to go for an attack at some point, so I might as well show up support, make sure that when they come, I can hold this line and I don't lose anything, right? Over here, what happened? I don't know. We'll check when the moves happen. In space, I'm continuing to do nothing on the harvest. I think my plan is just to attack here. I didn't need to negotiate anymore because, I mean, I could just take North Africa and nobody could stop me. Nothing ever happens. I guess nothing big happens and then the moves happen. I self-bounce here. I tell Italy I'm self-bouncing here because, I mean, why not? I got nothing better to do. I moved down here, ready to move into Picardy. I also wanted to bounce here just for security reasons, and I was like, okay, yeah, there's no, like, okay, fine. I was gonna move there anyway, so I don't care if I'm bouncing you. Yeah, over here, what happens? Austria continues to grow. France is dying. Germany... Oh, Germany's actually doing quite well here. Because in my head, Germany and France had already died, but I guess for everybody involved in this map, they were still relevant. They weren't relevant to me, so in my head they'd already died. Yeah, over here, I go here. I was kind of concerned about the French unit coming to take this, but also I wasn't that concerned because I could just kick them out afterwards. And by now, I also felt like France was kind of giving up because they'd lost this center. They weren't saying much. Like, even when the order logs came in, like, their moves are like, disband, I guess, or just disband, or just hold all or something, so I don't think their heart was in the game anymore. What else happened? Nothing really important happened, other than the Cold War tension of Austria and Turkey both wanting to kill the other. They were really pushing. Austria was really pushing the Turkey's gonna turn evil narrative, and I kind of believed it, to be fair. Turkey was pushing the Austria's gonna solo narrative, which I also believed. I believed both of them, so it was really a balancing act, like, okay, I believe both of you, man. You both have bad intentions. Who am I gonna have to fight first was really the question I was asking. But deep down, I was hoping that the game would just end before it became relevant. There was still, I mean, technically there was only one neutral center, but the German and French centers were open season, right? So there was still kind of something to hunt towards here, and there was enough just emptiness on the board where there was excuse to work together until Turkey got into this province and won the game. I think that was the only thing holding stuff together at this point, because I think if there was no end in sight, these two would have been fighting a lot more. So fall 1908 comes, and I think this is where officially Turkey opens its group chat with everyone, let's stop the Austrian solo. And I was happy to go with it, because I believe too Austria's gonna solo. Like, look at this. No good player does it. Like, why would... Yeah, okay, you're gonna kill me. Also here they were getting scary, I think. I wasn't looking too closely, but I just believed them when they said they were scary in the absence. This Turkish unit was also getting dislodged because Russia fell on top of them, so it dislodged. And then Turkey was saying, hey, I should go into the North Sea, the underground North Sea, and I was like, Turkey, man, come on. It's clear Austria wants to get Skagerrak here, so just go to St. Petersburg, man, and Russia can support you into this province, Barents Sea. Thankfully, Russia agreed to that as well, so Turkey ended up not continuing into the North Sea and following that plan. There was joint effort to at least make some moves so that Austria didn't get too powerful. Fall 1908, nothing interesting happens, I just bounce it for fun. Yeah, Italy does what Italy does. Did they both try going into here? Oh. I completely missed this because I just wasn't paying attention to the absence map. Okay, well, I guess there would have been some company here, and actually maybe they should have, for reasons which will become relevant later. I built this army with the idea of containing Austria because I think I will go into Denmark, and then from Denmark I can kind of cover these because the plan was Russia, you get North Sea just so that Austria doesn't get it, and then I'll make up for it by getting this province down here. Nothing else happens. Cool. Austria gets 3 builds though, and also a fleet, and also they dot the Italian here. They dot the Italian, so it's like, okay, Austria, man, what are you doing? Austria's going for the solo. And they make some excuse about not knowing what they're doing in space, about making a mistake. But I mean, Austria, man, you're the only person who knows what they're doing in space, so don't give us that nonsense. Yeah, I go to Denmark. We bounce here. Italy goes here. Over here, what happens? Austria goes here. I don't know what Austria's doing. Maybe it's just for fun. Maybe there's no deep reason. So... Oh yeah, this is the important turn. Yes, we're here. So this unit, which had been gathering speed, makes their attack down into this province to kill the Oracle. Also, this happens, which I was kind of confused about. Turkey dislodges this unit, and this is the biggest aura loss for the Oracle. Okay, the Oracle retreats, and the Oracle, because they have 0 power, they just die. Like that made me lose all respect for the Oracle, because the Oracle was big and scary up to this point. I didn't talk about the Oracle much in this commentary because it didn't really come up. The Oracle was the big and scary monster, and just retreating with 0 and then disbanding yourself, that was okay. The Oracle was like that big guy, but now the Oracle, like, come on, Oracle, man, it's just embarrassing. Like, come on. Austria took the Turkish dot, and I think at this point you could argue that the gloves had come off. Like, Austria and Turkey are just fighting now. Good thing that the game was about to end, right? Right? The game was about to end. Turkey and Italy, both of whom conveniently actually ended up in the anomaly. So maybe there was some brainwashing going on here. But both of them wanted to spend the next, I think it would have been like 3 years, to dislodge this unit, drill down into the anomaly, and figure out what's happening in the anomaly. Austria and Russia, they just wanted the game to end, because I think Austria was getting sick of the game. There were too many maps. Russia wanted to just end the game and claim the win. They had the whole discussion. Meanwhile, I don't know what I was doing. I just wasn't there for the adjudication deadline, so I came a couple hours late. But in the meantime, they were having this big debate about should we end the game here or should we not. And then I come, I look at all the things, and I see one ping. And it's asking me, do you want to end the game now or continue the game? And I was like, why are we continuing the game? Let's just end the game. And I scroll up, I see the whole discussion. I don't know what happened in that discussion. I did not read the discussion. Turkey had this great plan to dislodge the middle units. But in my head, the game had already ended. It was like too long, didn't read. Anyway, there was a fake referendum about whether we should end the game or not. We voted. The result was we should end the game now, 3-2. But I say it was a fake referendum because I don't think anybody participating in the referendum was going to stick to that referendum, no matter what the outcome was. Italy and Turkey immediately started plotting on how we're going to continue the game so we could figure out what's happening here. Me and Russia actually always had the plan that we were going to dislodge Turkey out of here. So now it was justified. Now we had a good reason to do it other than just not trusting Turkey. Because Turkey straight up told Russia that I'm going to walk out. And I'm like, why would you tell Russia that? Because even if you were, then Russia is not on your team, man. But okay, it's fine. Before we get to the final, here is my grand plan for the final round. Because in my head, and this is exclusive content, you're not getting this anywhere else. Nobody else is going to talk about this, guaranteed. Because it just doesn't matter. But I wanted to stay equal in this final round, and I was 100% sure that Austria was going to dot me. Because, I mean, throughout the whole game, it's been clear Austria's goal was to get the most supply centers. How am I going to defend these two centers? The answer is I can't. Because my initial plan was, I was just going to go into Yuskag. Okay, I was going to go into Yuskag, and I told Russia, you can take North Sea, and I'll take the underground Lyon province. Because nobody could stop me from taking this. And at this point, I thought Russia was also anti-Austria. Turns out they weren't really, but I thought they were. So it's like, okay, yeah, just take the North Sea so that at least you're the one who gets it. Best case, he gets it. Worst case, he bounces. For the Baltic Sea, I was like, I'm just gonna go here. But then I realized the flaw in my plan is that he has more strength than me. And this was defense, this doesn't matter. So he was just gonna walk in if he could walk in. Then I thought, okay, fine, I'm not gonna bounce in Baltic Sea. I'll just go for Skagerrak. Because then one of two things happens. Either if he takes this, then I lose it, sure. But then he has to choose between one of these two provinces, and I thought he was going to choose for North Sea and then bounce in Russia. If he doesn't bounce Russia and he covers this, then I mean he keeps it, fair enough. But I also get this down here. Russia would have taken this. I would have actually gone -1, but I wasn't thinking too hard. Let's be honest. In the end, we came to an agreement with Austria, actually, out of all people. Because, I mean, as the phase progressed, I became more and more confident that Austria was more interested in dotting Turkey than dotting me. We came to an agreement where he was just going to take this. I mean, I couldn't defend it. And then I would just take Skagerrak. And when he suggested this, I thought, okay, problem solved. All's good. I was like, oh, I should just walk down into here, because I'm going to walk up into here. Just to swap, just in case Austria changes their mind and goes after the North Sea. But also I think Russia deep down knew Austria better than me. And was like, okay, they're not interested. Down here, I was just going to spot, actually initially I was going to spot this guy up here. But then Russia said, no, spot this guy down. And then I was like, okay, yeah, it doesn't make a difference. Who cares? What else? Nothing else. That's what happened. The grand scheme. So Turkey walks out, Russia walks in. And the grand scheme worked, by the way. I stayed equal. If anything, I went up, because Russia didn't go into the North Sea. So I dotted Russia last second, but it's fine because the game ends, everybody wins, except for France and Germany. Actually, they didn't win, but you know, both of my neighbors died. So maybe I'm the bad guy.